Hello everyone, it is Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. It is Monday, July 21st, and that means it's time for another Make It Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. I am coming to you live from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and my goal in sharing these videos is to help find joy one card at a time. That could be because I've taught you a new technique that you didn't know before, or perhaps helped you find that creative spark inside of you, or maybe it's because you've received a homemade card or perhaps have the courage to send one of your homemade cards. It doesn't really matter. It just happens one card at a time, and I'm happy however it might happen. I've been making cards for over 30 years, various techniques, but my longest and greatest love is using pretty papers, stamps, colored inks, and embellishments to make my cards. My style has been described actually by one of my followers as elegantly simple, and I really like that phrasing because I truly do like cards that provide a lot of wow for you, but aren't difficult to make. That's always been my goal with my cards, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. I am not affiliated with any company. I am not trying to sell you anything. I am simply here to share with you different card making techniques and again, try to help you find that creativity or expand on that creativity, whatever it takes. I want people to have fun making cards. So I am going to show you today how to make this lovely 3-panel card. Initially, I was inspired by a card layout from Julie Baca, and she had used a fruit patterned paper, which I don't have, but in my stash, which is what I'm encouraging everybody to use, I found a lemon and orange piece of paper, and it really gave me a feel for how this card looked, and I loved it. I wanted to make a few changes that would make this card my own. So first I made a Christmas card, but I also added another layer to the card that I don't know if you can see it on here, but I actually used an embossing folder so that it added just a little more detail to the background. I'm not one that tends to leave my cards smooth and plain all the way around. I do like adding the detail. And then it's just simply got some designer series paper on it. I guess we could call this Christmas in July because it's still July and I've actually made a Christmas card. And then inside it's just got your typical sentiment in there. So let me show you how to make this card. I am using a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece of cardstock, but this card will work with a 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. This happened to already be cut and scored, and since I'm using my stash, here we go. So it can either be 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 or 4 1/4 by 11. It's going to end up being a standard size card either way. Then I've got another piece of cardstock. This measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I just ran this again through another embossing folder just to add a little detail. The next layer of cardstock is going to be 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. And then for the inside of my card, of course, I've got the 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white. And I have added 2 pieces of 1/2 inch by, we're going to call it 3 3/4 inch piece of some of my scraps that I'm going to use to decorate the inside of my card. Completely optional, but you can choose to do that. And then I also have 3 pieces of patterned paper that each measure 3 1/2 by 1 inch. And finally, I have stamped my sentiment on a piece of white cardstock that measures 1 inch by 3 1/2 inches as well. Now you could use colored cardstock in there if you wanted to. That is what I did on this card. I just wanted to do the white to make this pop out a little bit more. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make the card. We might as well finish up the inside of this card first. So I am going to grab, I had a tape runner kind of go funky on me and I got it fixed. And so I'm going to see if it'll work. All right, so I am going to, would work better if I had it go in the right direction. I am going to add this And I just kind of want it evenly spaced. This is a great way to use up scraps of this pretty pattern paper that we have, or if you are one that doesn't like to have to write a lot inside of a card, this is a great way to fill up space on the inside of a card so that you don't have to write as much and nobody will know the difference. They'll think you just did this to make your card look pretty. All right. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I might as well get my card base made. Now, one thing that I learned in a video is when you're creasing your card, sometimes the edges don't line up, but if you start from the center and work your way out, you tend to get a better alignment of your card pieces when you're folding it in half. I always tended to start right from the top down, but I've tried this a few times now, and when I go from the center out, it does line up a lot better. So something to keep in mind when you are working on cards. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish up the inside of my card. We will put that there just like that. And I might as well adhere this to the front of my card. And because this is a 3D embossing folder that I use, I am going to put extra adhesive just to hold it down. All right, and then we will get these lined up. And when I'm lining up paper like this, I'm always going to look at this corner and this corner. If they are even, then I can be pretty certain that this corner and this corner will be even. That's a tip. I can't even remember at this point who I learned that tip from, but it's been a very useful tip to know. So the one thing with these 3 pieces that I cut is I want to make sure that I'm putting them on, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together, in the same order that I cut them. That way it creates a more appealing visual on your card. And they're actually going to be assembled in this order. If you want to write the number on the back of them, that's fine to do. This pattern is pretty easy for me to tell what goes where, so I don't feel like I need to do that. And now I'm just going to take these pieces and adhere them to my card. And when I'm putting cards together like this, I like to put the first piece down. I don't press it down firmly, but I want to make sure I've got pretty even spacing. And then I like to come in with my bottom piece, and most of my adjusting will occur then with the second. Oops, I didn't do a very good job of taping that, did I? Most of my adjustment will then come in with my second and third piece. And so again, I'm going to line these up as best I can. That looks pretty good. And then I'll set these 2 pieces here just so I can kind of get an idea of what my spacing needs to be. And gosh, I can actually move. I want to measure something, make sure I cut this correctly. 4 3/4. Yes, I did. Well, let me make sure I've got that. I gotta find the right set of instructions even. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. I think I just kind of cut this one a wee bit funky. And that's all right. So because I didn't press this down real hard, I am able to pull it up and adjust. I'm just going to adjust it downward a little bit. So I've got a little more at the top, and I'll do that down here so that I have just a little more at the bottom. And that means then when I put these 2 pieces on, that they're going to be more evenly spaced too. That's what, oops, we want to make sure we get happy birthday on right. That's why I don't press them down until I have all 4 pieces on there, because I do want to make sure I can space them pretty evenly, and that I have my paper going in the correct direction as well. So I'm going to put this one kind of like that. Again, not pressing it down firmly until I get this fourth piece in place. But I think with those tweaks that I made, I got it pretty good. So we'll put that one there. I'm going to lift this up and adjust just a teeny bit, like that. And then I will add this, and again, I'm putting it onto a 3D embossed layer. And so I am going to add a couple extra pieces of tape. And we will put this one in place like so. And we have our card primarily assembled. I did cut a ribbon that I'm going to add here. I have previously put on glue dots to hold that in place. And then I've also got some pearls just to add a little bling to my card. But of course, as you can tell, I'm looking for my, there we go, little tool here to make it easier to pick up these pearls. And I am actually going to put them right on my white, which seems kind of funny when you're working with pearls, but it just they would get lost in the rest of that. And so I really like how it looks just with that part. So easy peasy, elegantly simple. This is a really fun card to make. Ooh, looks like I need to get that corner. A great way to use up your scraps of DSP or designer series paper, pattern paper, however you want to call it, and still be able to create beautiful cards. So again, let me share with you a couple of these cards so that you can see they can look a little bit different. We've got a Christmas card, a thank you card, a happy birthday card, another thank you card, all very simple to make, but they do add quite a bit of punch when you see them put together. So have a great time making this card. If you do make it, please be sure to post samples of it as you're sharing that. I think that we can all inspire each other with our creativity. And if you're willing enough to share a sample, I'd surely appreciate it. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next week for another Make It Monday. Bye-bye.